everybody knows how there's really bad conditions in an animal shelter, it's really overcrowded. Normally if one of them has worms, they all have worms, stuff like that. Now, most people have a pet. Not all people, but I mean, most of us have a pet or know somebody that has a pet and know how much they mean to us and to you if you have one. So I adopted my dog about 4 years ago now. She's the most prized possession in my world. She means everything to me. And so I did adopt her, so I know how the conditions were that she was living in. So today I'm going to talk about the overcrowding in the shelter and how to possibly make it better for the animals in the shelter. So this is what the shelter looks like. You can see it's really overcrowded and there's just a lot of animals. They don't have enough cages for all of them, so they're all crammed in little cages together. When I adopted my cat too, and when I went to adopt my cat, then we went into a cage and there were like 6 or 8 cats in a cage together, and that's not a lot of room for them, and they were just all kind of laying on. They didn't even have like beds for them. It was like really sad to see all of them together, but this is what it looks like. So because of the overcrowding in the shelters, they have to euthanize the animals because they have to make room for more animals, and if they're there a certain amount of time, they euthanize them. According to the ASPCA, each year approximately 1.5 million shelter animals are euthanized. So that's about 670,000 dogs and 860,000 cats. And it doesn't say why there's such a big difference in the numbers between the animals. My guess is because there are a lot more dog people than cat people in the world, but either way, it's a really, really terrible thing. Another big thing is people surrender pets. They'll get a pet and it'll be a puppy, for instance, and then it'll go and get into an adult dog, and they don't want an adult dog, they just want the puppy. So they'll take it to the shelter and they will surrender it. And this is a picture of a dog that just got surrendered. You can see how sad the dog looks, and they don't understand why this is happening to them or what's going on. They're just really upset, and you can tell when you go look at a shelter how sad the animals look, because they are sad. They're there, they got surrendered, they don't understand why, they want to go home, but they can't. So according to the Tribune Business News, others surrender their pets because they have a summer vacation and see the animal as more of a disposable item than a family member. So basically, it's the same thing I said earlier. You get a pet, it's a baby. When it grows into an adult, they don't want it, so they surrender it because they don't see what's wrong with that. It's the same idea as this. So say you living at home. You get a dog, you get a puppy, you get some kind of pet. You move off on your own. You can't have pets. Well, your parents don't want that responsibility, so you're gonna try to give the pet away. Nobody may want it. So what are you going to do? You're going to put it on the streets? No, you're going to surrender it to an animal shelter, which there's nothing wrong with surrendering a pet. It's just so many people surrender pets because they don't have anywhere to go, or they go on vacation, as that one said, and they don't want to have to deal with the pet while they're on vacation, so they're just, give it to the shelter. It'll be fine. Another big problem is people are breeding pets, which equals unwanted pets. So, where I live, there's so many dogs and things running around because people are breeding them, then people don't want them, so they get out, they're running around everywhere. It's a really sad thing to see. So people, when they breed, I know a lot of people breed animals to make money off of them, which is fine. But also, you have to think about, nobody wants to pay $2,000 for an animal. Not everybody has that kind of money. So, according to PETA, there is no such thing as a responsible breeder because for every puppy or kitten who is produced by any breeder, an animal awaiting adoption at an animal shelter loses his or her chance at finding a home and will be euthanized. So, as I said earlier, if they don't get adopted, they're euthanized, which is horrible. So people who breed pets, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying maybe they should think about it and think about how it would help us in the long run. And the other thing is puppy mills. So this is a puppy mill. And a puppy mill, for those of you who don't know, is a person who breeds animals just constantly. So a female get pregnant and get a litter, pregnant again. It'll just keep going, constantly. And that is a horrible thing to have. Animals don't deserve to just be bred like that. And because that, again, makes more unwanted pets. And then they get loose, they run the streets, they end up in shelters. According to ISRA, puppy mill operators treat their dogs as mere commodities and keep them in the most appallingly substandard conditions imaginable. So as the picture showed, they're really, really horrible conditions. They live in small cages. They don't get fed properly. They get bred all the time. They have litters after litters after litters, so they can't produce anymore. And then who knows what happens to them? They probably get killed, but I don't know that for a fact. So some ways to help the shelters. Adopt from a shelter. According to U.S. Fed News Service, OKC Animal Welfare must find homes for at least 200 pets this weekend to avoid euthanizing otherwise healthy and adoptable homeless pets, said Superintendent John Gary. The reason this was said is because there were so many pets in the shelter that nobody wanted, that they didn't have enough space for new pets, so they were going to have to euthanize them, which is horrible. Another thing that you can do is spay and neuter your pets so they don't accidentally get pregnant and have more pets that nobody wants. If you want to breed them, that's your own choice. And another thing is you can donate time or money to the shelter. So you can give some money to the shelters to possibly help make them better, or you could even go volunteer at a shelter and help watch the animals, take care of the animals. So just little things like that are really going to help the shelters out. Overall, the animal shelters are extremely, extremely crowded, and they need to be fixed. So next time you think of getting a pet, please, please, please look at the shelter first.